Well, hello there. I'm Drew Badger, and hopefully you are here seeking knowledge about how to express yourself in a more intelligent and beautiful way. Anyway, in this video, we are going to cover 7 words that people commonly misuse and hopefully get you to use them correctly. Let's begin. The first word is peruse, and this is something I've often used incorrectly myself. When you're thinking about perusing a book, the idea people typically have is that you're looking through something very quickly. Oh, I'm going to peruse this book in 2 minutes and take a look at it and then look at something else. But what the meaning of peruse is the opposite. So you want to peruse something, it means to carefully look through something. You really want to look through it. You want to linger through the book to peruse that particular thing. So I'm perusing an article. I'm perusing a book. I'm looking through it and giving it my full attention. To peruse. Peruse. Now, this next one is just something I thought I would throw into the lesson because it's a common thing that native speakers misuse, but it's also just a fun, interesting fact. And this is the word peacock. Peacock. Now, peacock is actually the word for the male of a species of peafowl. And so peafowl is the name of the kind of bird, but peacock is just the male. If you're looking at a female, you would say, oh, that's a beautiful peahen, a peahen. Just like a chicken, we've got a hen and a rooster. We've also got a peacock and a peahen. But the two are in the species of bird called a peafowl. Peafowl. Next, fortuitous. Fortuitous. Listen carefully to how this blends. Fortuitous. Fortuitous. So it's fortuitous. You can pronounce it like that, but people say it quickly and blend it in a conversation. Fortuitous. Fortuitous. Now, it sounds like fortune. So people often think that it's maybe describing something that's very lucky. So, it was a very fortuitous thing that my friend came and gave me like some lucky thing or gave me a whole bunch of money or something like that. Now, it might mean something that's lucky, but fortuitous just means something that happens by accident. So it was like a very fortuitous thing that I was outside and maybe I had an umbrella and it started to rain. So in that sense, it happens to be a lucky thing, like it's fortunate for me, but we're only describing fortuitous, or we're only using the word fortuitous to describe maybe just something that's like a coincidence that happened that time. Fortuitous. Fortuitous. Next, we have a word that's really abused and overused and used incorrectly, especially by younger native English speakers. So as a learner, be careful that you don't make these mistakes as well. So this is literally. Now listen carefully to the pronunciation of this. Literally. The pronunciation, really, we could say literally, but the pronunciation becomes literally, literally, literally. Listen carefully. I'll say it really slowly. Literally, 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 literally. Now, what people use it for, they're kind of using it for emphasis. Young kids will say like, wow, it's like, it was literally 200 degrees outside. It was literally 200 degrees outside when maybe the temperature was 80 degrees or something like that. So this is an incorrect use of the word literally. Now, people are often using it. Again, they're using it for emphasis. They're trying to say, wow, it was literally freezing cold outside. So maybe it was 60 degrees or something, but someone felt a little bit cold, but they're describing it. They're trying to emphasize the situation by saying literally. Now, the real meaning of literally is that it's something that's real. So if you say, oh, it's literally 200 degrees outside, then it better be 200 degrees outside. So when you're talking about something, if you want to use literally and use it correctly, you're having to describe something like he was literally 8 feet tall. Means like the person was actually 8 feet tall when you saw him, not like 7'2" or whatever. So again, you're talking about literally, and you can use it that way. You're kind of emphasizing something, but you have to be describing something that's actually true. Literally, literally. Next, another commonly misused word, enormity. Enormity. And again, we've got that T in the word enormity that becomes more of a D sound. It almost disappears. Enormity. 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 Now, enormity sounds like enormous. So people think about, well, it must be a huge thing, like the enormity of Godzilla or something. But we're not talking about something like that. The correct meaning of it is actually something that's like very serious. So we're talking about the enormity of the situation. Like many people were killed in some violent attack. The enormity of the situation was really surprising to people. So it was a very serious, a very important or big thing. And that's why we would use enormity in this way. But we're not talking about the physical size of something being big. If you're talking about that, you can actually just use the word enormous. enormous. Next, we've got two words, and these are really working together in conversations a lot. The first one is sarcasm, and the second one is irony. Irony. Now, people will often, whether you're a native speaker or a non-native speaker, but typically non-native speakers as well, because especially if they come from cultures where maybe sarcasm isn't maybe such like an important or common thing in everyday situations, the idea of sarcasm really is just where you're saying one thing but kind of having the opposite meaning of that. As an example, I look at my friend and say, well, that's a great outfit, but I really think it looks ugly. So I'm saying one thing, but by the tone of my voice, you can hear me being sarcastic. Often, some people that use sarcastic remarks, or they use sarcasm a lot in conversations, they have trouble maybe expressing themselves correctly because they will say a sarcastic thing, but in a straight way, like, oh, that's an ugly suit, or maybe that's a beautiful suit, but I actually mean the opposite of that. So I'm saying one thing like, wow, that's a really beautiful suit. So it sounds like I'm being sincere. I'm not being sarcastic, but I am actually expressing something. If you say, oh, really? Do you really like the suit? And I say, no, it looks awful. And now that's a really mean thing to say to somebody, but again, I'm using sarcasm, and this is just typically you would use it with people in a friendly way, people that you know quite well. But that's sarcasm. Now, irony is a related thing with this. It's usually the opposite of the thing you were expecting. So I'll give you just a quick story about irony from my own life. Back when I was in college, I was at in a dorm room that was above a cafeteria, and I was up there just like with some friends of mine, and we all walked down for dinner, and we were waiting in line, and I see this sign on the door that says like you have to have shirt and shoes in order to come into the dining hall. And I started looking at that, and I pointed out the sign. I told everybody, I was like, everybody, look at this sign over here. What idiot would come down here without like shoes on? Well, like what idiot would go in there? Because you often see these signs in front of restaurants too. Like if you go into McDonald's, it will say no shirt, no shoes, no service. So you have to actually be wearing clothing and shoes. But this makes sense because most people would not walk into McDonald's with no, well, maybe some people would, I don't know. But in the case of the cafeteria, so I'm pointing out this sign, I'm saying, what idiot would do that? And then I looked down and I remember I had no shoes on. So I was the idiot. So that's irony right there, where something kind of the opposite is affecting me, or the opposite of whatever the expectation is. So that's irony. And our last one is notorious, where you often hear it kind of said as notorious, like the notorious killer, notorious. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean just like famous, like, wow, he's like a notorious actor. The idea of notorious means it's something evil or bad or maybe dangerous. So a notorious gangster means like famous for doing something, stupid or doing something bad. So you wouldn't talk about like a famous actor unless they did something bad. You wouldn't call them a notorious person, but you would call them like notorious if they're famous for doing something bad. So you got both of these there, like the famousness plus having done something or being known for some kind of negative reason. Well, that's it for this lesson. If you have enjoyed it, do click that like button, become a subscriber to the YouTube channel, and try using these incorrect sentences the correct way in the comments section below. If you don't practice, you won't improve, and we'll just have all wasted our time here. So go down below, try at least one of these, and try using it correctly in a sentence like I was perusing the book for 25 minutes or something like that. Don't type that one, but, just try to use something interesting just to show that you're remembering what you're learning here. And finally, if you'd like to learn more about how you can improve not only to use grammar correctly, but for all of the other habits you need to develop in order to become a confident, successful English speaker, click on the link in this video to take our free English fluency quiz. It will tell you exactly what you need to focus on for your particular situation, and I look forward to helping you with that absolutely free at EnglishAnyone.com. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.